Get in on the conversation. Call 1-877-669-1292.
And I'm Howie Silbiger. Welcome to the Howie Silbiger Show right here on the True Talk Radio Network. So happy that you're here with me. So glad to be here with you. And I say the same thing every week, but I actually mean it. A lot of people say things, they don't mean it. I say things I actually mean. It's true, I mean them. So believe me, don't believe me, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me if you believe me or not, because I mean everything I say. Everything. I stand behind every single word I say right here on this show. So I'm happy that you're here, and I mean it. A lot of stuff has happened this week. We weren't on last week, and a lot of stuff has happened over the course of the week, and I'd like to talk to you about it. But I can't talk to you alone. Well, I can, but I won't talk to you alone. I will ask my friend, my confrere, my mentor. Well, maybe not my mentor, but my friend, my confrere, and my good old colleague, Mr. Sheldon Eric Freed. Yes, English is my first language. Mr. Sheldon Eric Freed to join me. Of course, the lines are open. You can call in. Numbers to call, 1-877-669-1292. Sheldon is here with me. Hi, Sheldon.
Hi, Howie.
That was almost English, and I'm proud of myself, yes.
Well, usually you wait till the end of the show when you start flubbing up different things, but now you start at the beginning of the show. So there's variety there.
Life does go on, right?
And I know that you really are really happy that everybody's tuned in to see you, because I know that you care.
I am happy.
I know that I care.
And we are broadcasting on a whole bunch of networks. We're broadcasting on Twitch. We're broadcasting on Facebook. We're broadcasting on Twitter. We're broadcasting on YouTube. So it's good to have all these people watching, and this entire audience, and it's nice. It's fun, and I'm happy that people have decided to spend their Sunday evening with us, Sheldon.
Well, I'm very happy that you're happy that everybody else is happy to spend Sunday evening with you.
Well, we got to be happy. That's the point here. So let's just be happy.
Shiny, happy people, according to REM.
Sheldon plays REM sometimes on his show, Inside the Vault. So you can catch that every night right here on True Talk Radio. Shiny, happy people. That's right. It's one of the songs he plays.
Yeah.
One of the many songs he plays on his music show.
I play classic rock, progressive rock, AOR rock, and some oldies thrown in for good measure.
Well, Sheldon knows a lot about oldies. That's the truth.
So yeah, you know too a lot about oldies.
Well, Sheldon lived through the oldies.
Your hair reflects it as such.
That's true. I can't even argue with you.
No.
So Sheldon, the vaccine has been handed out to a lot of people around the world, but not too many people in Canada. And it is a shame. It is a bloody shame that the Canadian Prime Minister has fumbled the ball when it came to COVID relief and came to COVID vaccine distribution. It came to making a deal with COVID. The United States of America is vaccinating 1 million people a day. Where if Canada vaccinated 1 million people a day, the entire country would be vaccinated in a month. And Canada's vaccinated maybe 100,000 in the 2 months that the vaccine's been out.
Something like that.
It's kind of shameful, if you ask me. And I'm wondering, why do you think Canadians aren't freaking out more about this? Why do you think that Canadians are just kind of blasé about this? I mean, we're locked in our homes. We are in house arrest mode, and we've been in house arrest mode for over a month. Why are Canadians so blasé about the fact that their government has fumbled the ball? The American president lost the election because he fumbled the ball. At least it was perceived he fumbled the ball. Why are Canadians so well? It's Justin. We have to accept it.
I think people are starting to get more vocal now, because now things are turning to the point that we're not just talking about one pharmaceutical company. We're now talking possibly 3 pharmaceutical companies that have a manufacturing base in Europe. Now, all of a sudden, and this is the thing that just boggles the mind, and this is the thing I'm really questioning this government, and I'm very, very, really upset about, and I'm sure a lot of Canadians are sharing this with me. First of all, you have Pfizer, which was the first one that got the go-ahead from Health Canada, the approval.
Right.
Then there was Moderna. Then there's AstraZeneca. Now those three pharmaceutical companies, according to the contracts that Canada signed, their distributions, their manufacturers, the manufacturing facilities are all based in Europe.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and I think if this has taught us anything, we have to be able to develop stuff here. We have to be more independent, not just in vaccines, but a lot of things. We have to stop being so reliant in other countries, because now the EU is starting to complain and is starting to put a lot of pressure on these pharmaceutical companies not to ship overseas unless people in Europe get their vaccinations first. Now, the thing was, contracts were already been made before the EU decided to get tough policy here. So Canada signed contracts. Now there's more pharmaceutical companies that are on their way of being approved from Health Canada. Now, as far as the states are concerned, Moderna does have a manufacturing facility in the state of Michigan, and they're manufacturing the vaccines at home on U.S. soil. So there's a big advantage there, that the fact is the U.S. doesn't have to depend as much on Europe as Canada does. Figuring the fact too that the United States has over 270 million people versus 26 million people in Canada. So there's a big difference there too. And the U.S. has a lot of manufacturing.
Wait a second. You'd figure that if Canada has much fewer people than the U.S., we would be in a much better shape to vaccinate the entire population quicker than the U.S. We don't have that many people to do it. You would think that this would be an advantage to Canada, not a disadvantage.
And like you said too, and you hit the head right on the nail. If they would have inoculated 1 million a day, or 1 million whatever, 1 million a week, or whatever the case is, we would practically be all inoculated by now. So there's something desperately wrong. Now the thing is, things will get better once the other pharmaceutical companies will get the approval from Health Canada. There was also Calgary, apparently in Calgary. I forget which one of the pharmaceutical companies they are starting to build a pharmaceutical distribution center and manufacturing center plant. Now there's a place even in Montreal locally. They're coming up with apparently a pill form to help with the reduction of the COVID virus to lower the case of the coronavirus. But that has been in the testing phase, but that has not been yet approved by Health Canada. But we still have a long way to go. Now, the thing is, the government still insists that we should all be vaccinated. For anybody that wants to have the vaccine, we should have the vaccine in our arms, both dosages, by the end of September. Do I believe it? I find it very hard to believe when countries are scaling back.
Why the end of September? You have countries like Israel that have vaccinated nearly the entire population. You have
exactly.
You have countries like the United States who will have almost their entire population vaccinated by the time July comes around. And here we have Canada, a tiny little country, no population, 26, 30 million people, 35 million people. And we have to wait till the end of September?
I don't get it anymore. I don't get it any more than you get it. I mean, let's face it. Israel was always on the cutting edge of, but look, and Israel's very, very clever.
Look, they're all using the same vaccines. Okay, they're all using the same vaccines from the same three companies.
Yeah.
So why is Israel able to get 7 million doses, because they have 7 million people living there, 7 million doses? Why is the United States able to get a million doses a day? I understand the manufacturing in Michigan. I get that the manufacturing plant doesn't hurt the United States, but Canada can't seem to get their act together. And
this is the thing.
Why aren't we holding our prime minister accountable for this?
Well, we should hold the prime minister accountable, or anybody and any of our leaders, because when you're dealing with a foreign country, you never know what can happen at any given time. Even if you think that the country may be our allies, You never know that when you don't have things homegrown and when you have to depend on the look, even in the United States, they tried to see if the plant in Michigan could be able to ship stuff in Canada. They refused.
Right.
It's which they have a right to do it in a way as well, because they want to inoculate the Americans first, and if they have anything left over, I'm sure they will send vaccines. But at that time, God knows how long that's going to take. So again, if we had the manufacturing facilities here in Canada, because this has really opened up our eyes to a lot of things. I mean, you don't think something like this can happen again?
Of course, it could happen again. It's happened before.
So the thing is,
situation.
we have to be prepared. And the thing is, this country was completely on its hind legs.
And whose fault? Whose fault is that, Sheldon?
Well, whose fault is this government and other past governments? Because we always needed. The problem was we were a small country having to depend on everything on the United States or everything in other places around the world, which is a big mistake. We have to look before we were getting our personal protective equipment from the United States. Why we didn't have now we're starting to manufacture facilities here in Canada. But why didn't we have this in the first place? Personal protective equipment has always been very important to any health or frontline workers. They need them. They're constantly with people that have all different types of diseases. They wind up in the ERs and the hospitals. The healthcare and frontline workers are completely overwhelmed. They're on the point of burnout.
But wasn't the story that we sent our masks and our PPE to China at the beginning to help them fight the Wuhan coronavirus? Wasn't that the story?
I think the United States also did some too.
Isn't that why we didn't have anything? Is because we sent it all to China?
I don't think we sent it all to China, but we did send some to China. Yeah, but the thing is, we just didn't have the manufacturing facilities, and now a lot of the manufacturing facilities were then geared up to. They then got geared up to be able to produce and manufacture their own personal protective equipment on Canadian soil, which is something we desperately need, and that's something we have to always continue to have. But again, it's a matter of. I think a lot of people have trusted. We thought a lot of countries in Europe were our friends or whatever. But when it comes to health, it's like every person for themselves. We can't afford this right now. This is a very big deal, and we have to all be on board. And contracts have to be honored, no matter which government was responsible in the formulation and creating and signing of these contracts. In this case, it's the Trudeau government. So they are responsible, like the pharmaceutical companies are responsible. And this is what I don't understand. You got Pfizer, which was the first pharmaceutical on board to be able to manufacture and distribute the vaccines. They knew when they were signing the contracts the mass amount of people that needed the vaccines from all over the world, including Canada. Then all of a sudden, they had to retool their production facilities. They waited this long.
Well, Canada wasn't following the routine that they told them to follow. So this is the punishment. Don't you understand? We have a Facebook message. Dino, how could anyone be surprised by Trudeau's incompetence? He awarded a contract to the We Charity, knowing that they would not administer the program for which they were awarded. This no-bid contract. Furthermore, Trudeau always gives the benefit of the doubt to China, the dictatorship he loves, and to the U.S., who knows that Trudeau is a wimp. Where is the autonomous, proud, Normandy-battled country we once knew? Why are we so dependent on others? We are weak and small, and our Prime Minister is a chump. And it's time we admitted as much. I agree with Dino. I think our Prime Minister is a chump. I think it's time to go.
I mean, I think so too. The Prime Minister's a chump. The Prime Minister, I don't know if this is necessarily going to cost him the next election, but it's certainly not going to help.
Should. Between the We Charity and this, he should lose the next election.
Yeah, except I'm not exactly thrilled about the Conservative leader either.
The problem is we have no leadership. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Exactly. Thank you.
The other parties don't have very good leadership, and so you run into the issue of who do you vote for.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm faced with now. because I'm not crazy about O'Toole. I'm not crazy about Trudeau. The NDP will never see the light of day, even if I were going to vote for the NDP, or regardless, the NDP will never see the light of day. So forget about the NDP. The Bloc Québécois, forget it, because none of us want the Bloc Québécois. So who else is going to be? The Green Party? No. Marijuana Party? No.
Communist.
So what? So the Communist Party? No. So what? I mean, let's put it this way: if Dino, if you're listening, if you were a person running for the Conservative Party, I would vote for you in a heartbeat because you have a heart.
Yeah, I'm not so gung ho about O'Toole either. I mean, I haven't been very gung ho about the Conservative Party in quite a while. The candidates that run the area that I'm in haven't been very strong candidates. They've been kind of weak candidates, and a few of them that they've chosen it was questionable why they chose them, and they were carrying a lot of baggage with them.
Yeah.
So it's like I haven't been able to get behind the Conservatives in a long time. And
see, the thing,
it's kind of sad because I mean I'm the kind of guy who would normally vote Conservative and be involved in the Conservative Party, and I am not involved in the party, and I don't vote Conservative. Well, in general, I haven't voted for the last couple of elections Conservative, and I'll be honest about it. I know voting is private, but I'll be honest about it. I haven't voted Conservative in the last couple of elections because the candidates have been sucky. It's as simple as that. I haven't had one good candidate in my riding in years.
Well, one thing I noticed about in the States, when Biden got elected, he right away put a mass inoculation campaign for the American people. He really wanted to get the vaccines out there. And so I'm glad, as far as for the American people are concerned, for them to get the inoculation. Our neighbors to the south, we know a lot of people, friends, relatives, families that live in the United States. So I'm glad that they're getting it. But again, like Canada is so out in the reches somewhere, we really don't know. We really don't know what to do. And the thing is, we're caught between a rock and a hard place. And then my fear is the people that got the first dose of the vaccine, when will they get the second dose? And if it takes that long on the second dose, will the first dose wear off? Already people got sick.
That is the reason that Pfizer and all these companies are holding back doses to Canada, because we're not administering it on the time frame that they tested it and that they said is effective. So it's kind of wasting it. Dino responded to you, Sheldon. He said, "Sheldon, you are kind, and I will say this. I'm not impressed by our leader O'Toole. I need to see him throw punches and get in front of the COVID issue. I have not seen it yet." And Dino's right, again. I haven't seen it yet either. The Conservative Party has not impressed me for quite a while. Their choice of candidates in the riding I live in has been dismal. And the leadership has been pretty dismal since Stephen Harper left. So I'm not sure who I would stand behind federally in the next federal election. I know it's not the NDP, that's for sure. I know it's not the Liberals, that's for sure. But there's not very many other options, and I can't in good conscience.
That's the thing. Like, what choices? I mean, we don't have a decent party leader on any of the three parties.
No.
And I'm really scratching my head because I don't know what to do. I'm not interested. I don't even know about what to do on the next election if I should. And there might be a really even lower voter turnout because people are going to say, well, especially in the local area, that O'Toole decided to increase the French language, wanted to go Bill 101. Trudeau is very apathetic. He's concerned about the French language thing. So right away, the Anglophone people in Quebec is going to be completely tuned out. They're not going to vote for Singh because, again, that could wind up being a split in a party that maybe people don't want to happen because the NDP does not have enough strength to get in. And then I'm also doubting Singh's leadership. So who do we have left?
There is nobody. That's the problem.
But honestly, that's why I think like people like Dino, who sees the situation, who understands the situation, and I don't know. And I understand what it's like.
I have to tell you, if a guy like Dino, I'm not saying Dino in particular because I know he doesn't want to, but if a guy like Dino ran for the Conservatives in the riding I live in, I would vote Conservative. But the last five candidates in 5 elections have been candidates that have been unvotable. You couldn't vote for them. They've just been, if you know anything about their history, it was impossible to vote for them.
Hmm.
So, I'm kind of torn between a hard place and a hard place, if you know what I mean.
I mean, a rock and a hard place.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, yeah, I understand that. I mean, so this is what I really don't know. And the thing is, because of the small country that we are, who knows of whatever leader that would have been, if it would have been O'Toole, if it would have been seen, if things would have been any better. I think that Canada is laughed upon as a small country, but when you talk about the States is looked as, one of the big hard hitting players in the world, where Canada's not. Canada's a laughing stock when it comes to these things. And that's been the problem for many, many, many years.
And why do you think that is, Sheldon? Why do you think people look down on Canada?
Well, when you take a look about the small population and the role that Canada plays through the world, I mean, look, Canada has always been a country that was a non-confrontational country,
What are you talking about?
and nobody.
Did we join two
Well,
world
Canada.
wars? We joined two world wars. We lost people in both
No,
wars.
no, no. I'm saying afterwards. It used to be like peacemaking. Canada used to do a lot of peacemaking stuff, and it changed a lot when Harper started becoming more on side with the states and more, more forceful. Where prime ministers before Harper, it wasn't as much,
Right.
and Canada was more. So that was the thing. That was the role that Canada played. Because Canada was never known for its military might like the United States or like Israel. Like Israel spent what, 70-80% of their budget on the military. The United States spends billions and billions and trillions of dollars on their military.
Yeah.
What does Canada spend? So the thing is, like, if it wasn't for the States, Canada would be, other countries could, you never know, they could come in and dominate Canada.
So do you
And the
think
United
Canadians?
States.
Do you think Canadians should be upset with the Americans for not sharing their doses of the vaccine with us?
Well, I think that the whole world should learn how to share, especially when it comes to health. So whether or not it's Canada being upset with the American people, or the American people being upset with Europe, or Canada being upset with Europe, as far as I'm concerned, these are pharmaceutical companies that have billions and billions of dollars in profit and could definitely put the resources available. And believe you me, they're making money on this thing. Trust me, with the contracts from all the governments around the world, they're making plenty of scratch. So I'm not sympathizing in terms of the money that they're making, but I think it's about time that all countries share and be able to supply everyone the vaccines that they need in the allotted period of time, and for countries, all countries, to follow directions.
So you don't think countries? I'm just playing the game here. You don't think countries should worry about their citizens before they worry about everybody else?
Well, that's what countries are doing.
That's what America
exactly.
says. America says, I'm worrying about America first.
Well, that's what. Well, it's like Biden did, and most presidents of the United States. It's America's first, and then the rest of the world after.
Right.
So, I mean, look, if you're an American citizen, you would agree with that. If you're a citizen that lives outside the States, you would not agree with that. So it depends. Like let's put it this way: if the roles were reversed and we got all the vaccines, as Canadian citizens, we'd be happy that we're getting the shots first. I mean, look, there was snowbirds that were going to Florida that were getting the vaccines ahead of Canada. Now the Florida governor decided, saying, hey, wait a minute, because they were getting a lot of complaints from the citizens that live in Florida and have property there. And they're saying, well, wait a minute, we didn't get the first dose of vaccines. Why are Canadians, or why are snowbirds that are coming in to our country, to our state, to our resort, and getting the vaccines before our own citizens?
Great question. Sheldon,
so then
we're going to have to take a little break. We'll be back. We'll be back in a minute or two. All right. Okay. You're listening to the Howie Silbiger Show right here on the True Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Howie Silbiger Show right here on the True Talk Radio Network. Feel free to call in. 1-877-669-1292 is the number to call. That's 1-877-669-1292. Sheldon Eric Freed is here with me. He is the producer, the director, the orchestrator, the master of ceremonies for his show on weekday nights. He is the man with the plan, the man with the brain. He's the brain, I'm the brawn. That's really the way it is, right?
Can I ask you
And his
something?
name
How
is
many cups of
Sheldon
coffee did you
Eric
have today?
Freed.
How many cups of coffee did you have? Really?
I don't know what you're talking about, Sheldon. Well, I don't know what your problem is.
I don't know either. That makes two of us.
I gave you a good intro, and now you're all upset about it. So I don't know.
I'm not upset. I'm never upset with you. I'm never upset.
I could have just said, "Here's the guy, Sheldon." I mean, I could just said that.
No, I like your intro better.
Okay, good.
And here's the guy, Sheldon.
Here's that guy, Sheldon. That guy there. Yeah.
See, that's what the Americans would feel about Canada, or Europe feel about Canada. There's the guy, Canada, for the vaccines.
Yeah,
There's the guy,
dude,
Canada.
Dude, just get rid of him. Yeah.
It's the second largest country and area in the world, and that pretty much. I think another thing that we had a problem with too, and I'm not making any excuses for the government, but I think if you take a look at the geography, also, a lot of people in the north were having trouble getting vaccines because of the distribution and because flights getting to the far north. So I remember they were very late in getting the north.
I live in Montreal, and I'm not even close to be on the list to get a vaccine. And I'm a school teacher. I should be a frontline worker, and I'm not.
You see, that's the thing. I have a big issue with the governments, all the governments, the federal government, the provincial government. If they insist on the schools to stay open. Now, if the schools were not going to be open and you were going to teach online and you're going to be from the safe confines of your home, that's one thing, because you're not coming in contact with anybody, not your fellow staff, your students, or any of the administrators. You're home. So, and you live by yourself, so you're fine. You have your bubble. Fine. When the government is insisting that schools remain open, they should have put the teachers in front, just like you said, the healthcare workers. My significant other, that you also know, is a teacher. And the thing is, now the governments, Alberta now is starting to reopen the schools. Eastern Ontario is opening up their schools, and now the provinces are going to slowly start following suit. How in blazes, and this is really tease me off, how in blazes do the provinces want the schools to remain open or stay open or reopen the schools, depending on where you live? And yet they refuse to put the teachers in the front lines, like the healthcare workers. They're exposed every day to the students.
I'm exposed to maybe 100 students a day. I stand in front of them. I talk to them. I sit in front of them. I hang out in the class with them for an hour. And it's different groups every day. And it's different groups, different classes. And being exposed to those kids means I'm exposed to all their bubbles, right? So I know I'm exposed to thousands of people a day. And I'm not considered a important frontline worker. Nobody bakes cookies or gives me soup. Right? All they do is say teachers aren't doing a good job and criticize the work that we're trying to do during this pandemic. And on top of all that, not only do they only criticize us and say that we're not doing a great job, we're not even put on the list for inoculation. So, I mean, I just don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't get it either. It's like the government wants to have their cake and eat it, and they want to throw the teachers and administrators under the bus. Now, teachers are parents, teachers, wives, husbands, brothers, sisters, whatever, and they treat the teachers like junk. Now, locally, I know there was talk about a strike.
Yeah, but it's only one union. I mean, teachers aren't all involved in unions, right? There's a lot of different schools.
So the thing is, too, that one of the biggest concerns for teachers is always safety, is always working conditions. Now, I know most schools, they are supplying the mask. I don't know about your school, so you have to elaborate that. But I'm saying, based on my significant other school, they have They have an endless supply of masks for the students, for the teachers, the sanitizers, the Kleenex, and everything else. But again, if the government is going to have the schools open, and parents want the schools open, and I mean, obviously, we all know that having the schools open is better for the kids' mental well-being, and I know all of that. But the thing is, what about the teachers' physical and mental well-being too?
It's a good question.
And this is one thing. So the thing is, this is what the government is completely lacking in terms of intelligence. And once the government were to inoculate all the teachers and inoculate the students and all the administrators in the school, then we would have no problem for the schools to be open. And yes, there would be schools Monday to Friday, 5 days a week, normal thing, and then it would be closer to normal. But how is this going to be closer to normal if teachers could wind up getting the pandemic?
I would if people followed my theory, my way of doing things, we would be a lot safer in schools. I really think that the rapid test that they do at airports should be done to every single person entering a school, every single day.
Sure, they should.
It's going to cost a lot of money, granted. It'll go through a lot of tests, granted. But the people who test positive, it's a 15-minute or a 10-minute test, whatever it is, 10-minute results, right? Almost instant. The people who are given the test and they come out positive are sent home so they don't expose other people in the school.
That's what they should do.
And every
exactly.
single person coming into a school should be administered this test.
Yep. And the same thing with employees working for companies too that are going to be open.
Well,
they should have the rapid tests also.
Well, I'm saying they're forcing kids to go to school. They're forcing teachers to teach in school. You want to keep the place safe. I don't care about private industry. I care about, I'm being forced by the government to teach kids in school. Mm-hmm. That's my profession. I'm being forced to be there. Office workers are told to stay home. I'm told I have to go into the den, right? So I walk into the building. I should be tested, and every other single person walking into that building should be tested every single day, just to ensure that no COVID is coming into the building.
Are you offering anything, or is your school offering online teaching, or it's all physical in-house?
Well, you don't offer online unless somebody tests positive or is exposed. So
okay, so it's not like the other schools where you're having one day there, one day online from home, and
I don't
et cetera, et cetera.
I don't teach those grades. That's grade 9 and 10. Grade 10 and 11.
Okay.
I don't teach those grades. I teach younger grades. But that's not the point. Okay. The point is, anybody walking into a school building should be tested for COVID.
Yes,
definitely. Before they're allowed into the building. Like hospitals do. You go to the hospital, they test you before they allow you into the building. So it should be the same thing with schools. Every single day.
So it's going to be really interesting in the next couple of weeks. Now that the high schools have been open for 2 weeks, or it's going to be in the next couple of weeks, we'll see exactly, will the cases go up? That's going to be the big thing. If the cases go,
what is your prediction, Sheldon? I'll tell you what my prediction is. What's yours?
Well, I'm going to give it to, when did the high schools open up? I'm trying to think. Is it 2 weeks? It's 2 weeks now, right? 2 weeks. Okay. I'm going to give it probably another 2 weeks. So let's give it about a month after they open. So I'm thinking that unless they would actually do what you're suggesting and what I agree on, do the rapid testing, I do believe that cases are going to go up.
I think they're going to go up too.
Yeah. I mean, how much? I don't know, but it's just a matter of time, because there's no because now the government is also locally is now wanting to start putting a little less stringent to open up more things, and instead of that might wind up being
because if I go to Walmart to buy milk, let's say, or I go to Walmart to buy some vegetables. Or if I go to Walmart to buy some socks, it doesn't change anything. I'm in Walmart anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Closing off aisles and not allowing me to buy from those aisles, I'm there anyway. So It's discouraging other people from coming there? Not really. They're forcing me to go to school and to teach in school, because teachers must go and work. If you want to keep your job, you have to be there. And then they close off as non-essential school supplies. So you walk into a store, you can't buy pencils or pens or rulers or tape. Tell me this makes any sense to you. It makes no sense. There's no logic behind any of this. So,
No.
so I know the idea was so that people wouldn't go out and there would be no Boxing Day sales and people wouldn't go out en masse to buy stuff. But for heaven's sakes, there are certain things like snow jackets, like winter jackets and snow pants and mittens and gloves and hats that are not considered essential that are blocked off in the middle of the winter in Quebec.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Meanwhile, the last couple of days have been like minus 20, minus 15 degrees.
Yeah, and if my jacket is broken, which it is, my jacket's ripped, I can't even go and buy a new one because they're not considered essential. Tell me it makes any sense. It makes no sense.
It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, even people wanting to get socks. A friend of mine wanted to get socks.
Yeah, nope.
Can't even get socks.
The only people making money off this whole thing, the only people who are benefiting from this whole thing is Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Making billions and billions of dollars. Because as you close the stores, everyone's shopping online. And guess what's going to happen after they reopen the stores? Everyone's going to say, I'm too lazy to go to Walmart to go and buy. I'm too lazy to go to Joe's shoe store to buy. I'm too lazy to go to Paul's flower shop to buy. I'm just going to order it online. Have it delivered to my house. Why do I have to go running out if it could come to me?
Yeah.
And you're going
to it's really brought this very convenient. Could you just imagine, though, at the same time, if we didn't have that kind of technology, if we weren't able to order online, if we weren't able to get groceries online, and if we were scared of going into a grocery store to get food, if we didn't have online, if we didn't have Zoom, do you imagine how many, I mean, it's bad enough that people are so depressed because of COVID. I mean, I haven't seen my kids since last summer.
Do you remember in last March, when people were afraid to go into shopping malls and were afraid to go into grocery stores, and we were ordering our groceries online and we had to wait 3 weeks for delivery?
Oh, I remember that.
3 weeks to get your groceries delivered?
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean,
it was awful.
Terrible.
And we just got back from vacation, and then everything just shut down, like as if it reminded me of the Doors when you would watch Get Smart, the doors shutting behind Don Adams, one clank, after the other, clank, after the other, clank, after the other. Clank.
Yeah.
And it was like, waiting for 2 to 3 weeks to get your groceries online. Remember and sometimes you can't even get stuff from Amazon because they don't even have stuff available. I'm even have a subscribe and save on liquid soap, Howie. Liquid soap. It hasn't been in stock for 5 months. I had to get soap from somewhere else. Liquid soap.
Liquid soap, Sheldon.
Yeah, really? Liquid soap. And Amazon, as big as they are, they didn't even have that particular brand, so I had to go to another brand. So could you imagine? And then toilet paper, bathroom tissue.
Yeah, I have no idea why. I don't have no idea why there was a massive rush on bathroom tissue.
I don't. Well, this was because everybody was in a state of panic, so they thought right away. It was almost like when people had to ration food, going back many, many years ago in the Great Depression,
but I don't know. If I'm in a state of panic and my city's getting locked down, I don't know. 800 rolls of toilet paper seems a little excessive, if you ask me.
You think?
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little excessive.
One person in my building, I don't know who the person is. The entire locker, this was going back to last March. The entire locker was completely filled to the brim with toilet paper and Kleenex.
So I'm wondering how much, how long do they think we're going to be locked down for? And I'm one person, so let's say I buy a large package of toilet paper with 45 rolls in it, right? And those 45 rolls will last me at least 4 or 5 months. One package. Yeah. 45 rolls, 4 or 5 months, easy. I live alone. I'm a single person. 45 rolls, that's a lot of toilet paper. Yeah. Especially if they're the double rolls. Like you go to Costco, you get those double rolls.
That's what I was getting. I was getting at one point when I used to be a member of Costco. I'm not a member of Costco anymore. I used to get these double. I still have some rolls left from over a year and a half, 2 years ago. Saying. Yeah, I still have it in my locker.
One package, 45 rolls of double rolls for one person, even 2 people. That's going to last a while, Sheldon.
Yeah, it's going to last a while. Yeah,
I was at Costco last week when they announced, or 2 weeks ago, when they announced that we were going to go into this lockdown and curfew situation. And there was a guy with 10 packages in his cart. 10 packages. That's 450 rolls of toilet paper. Double rolls of toilet paper. So
Well,
if you double, it's 900 rolls of regular rolls of toilet paper. Um,
well,
I don't know.
hope
I
he's
don't
not
know,
a fan of prunes, but okay.
Maybe he is a fan of prunes. Maybe that's the whole thing, right? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he has issues. I don't judge people, but 900 rolls of toilet paper seems like a lot to me.
In a word, oi.
Yeah, really. Maybe COVID isn't your major problem.
No,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah. If you need that much toilet paper, maybe it's not COVID.
Something's telling you something.
Yeah, maybe it's not COVID. Maybe that's not the problem here. Yeah. So I'm awfully confused by these people. I don't know. It just confuses me.
I would see. I remember when this first happened, and I was looking at the national news, CTV National News or CBC, one of the local stations, and they were showing people going into Costco
Yeah.
or going into Walmart, and they were having there was one person driving two shopping carts,
Filled with paper.
toilet paper,
Yeah.
completely filled with toilet paper.
Yeah. Well,
Two
those people-
shopping carts.
well,
And
a
you
lot
know,
of
the
those
Walmart
people-
shopping carts are big.
Look, you
or
got-
the Costco are big.
A lot of those people who were filling up their carts with toilet paper were planning to resell them. They were planning to turn a profit on it. That was the idea behind it. They were going to exploit people because of the pandemic, right? And a lot of them didn't get to do that because Amazon and eBay, all of them shut down the sales. They were stuck with all these rolls. So a lot of them were trying to make money off this. But I'm thinking, I'm looking at this thinking, the toilet paper company said there's no shortage of toilet paper. That there, if people bought normally, there was supply enough for everybody for normal supply, right? So why panic over something that there is a normal supply for? There's not going to be a shortage. The company's assuring you that there's no shortage, and even if the supply doubled, there was no shortage, but it was tripled and quadrupled, so there was a shortage. So I mean, we create our own problems sometimes.
Well, the thing was too, the stores would stock the items and they would have many in the back, whatever, and they would stock and restock and triple stock, and they would keep stocking every half an hour to an hour, and they couldn't keep up the demand because they were it was flying off the shelves.
Because the people are crazy.
Yeah, so the toilet paper were rolling off the shelves into the carton, and that was basically it. That was Bob's your uncle. That was the end of the stock. So like the stores couldn't meet the demand of people that were buying toilet paper because were getting scared that they were not going to have toilet paper.
What a weird thing to obsess about.
Yeah, and I was like,
I would understand canned tuna. I'd understand canned vegetables or canned anything. If all the cans disappeared, I'd get that, right? If all the flour disappeared, I'd get that. Okay, people are afraid bakeries aren't going to be open. They have to bake. They need to eat. If all the meat disappeared, I get that. But a weird thing to obsess about. All the shelves were filled with everything except for the toilet paper shelf. It was just the weirdest thing in the world to obsess about.
Well, even Kleenex, we had trouble, and sanitizers were the same thing.
Yeah,
then
Sandy wipes there, the wipes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the price of those just skyrocketed too.
Yeah, and I was so upset that these stores started gouging people. I mean, if the government is saying this is what you need, like the wipes, the sanitizer, whatever, to part of your daily hygiene ritual, I just don't understand. I don't understand these companies having to hold the public hostage. And I have a big beef with these companies because they have no business.
I'm telling you, I had a company that we used a lot of rubber gloves, the examination gloves, the same ones that people are buying now, right? The latex or the non-latex nitrile gloves that people are buying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I bought them for years and years and years, and it always cost me between $5 and $7 for 100 gloves. Okay, for a box of 100, it was between $5 and $7. Now, if I go and buy that same box of 100 gloves, it cost me $20 a box.
Wow. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
I mean,
That's what it is.
if they want people to do whatever it is to be able to keep themselves safe, they should put the prices so everybody can afford them,
Yeah.
not to price it out of reach. And then if they can't afford it, then they get sick. I mean, you have people that are on very low income. They're on fixed incomes. I mean, people that are making $100,000 a year, that's a tip of the iceberg. That's nothing.
Right.
But if people are on social assistance or on other things or welfare, whatever the case is, that $20 is like $2,000.
Yeah. But people don't care. Nobody cares.
And that's the thing. And I have a big beef against these companies that are making, and that's why I wish these governments would go down on companies saying, listen, you're making a profit because don't tell me that for whatever it costs you to make these gloves, let's say it costs them a dollar to make the gloves and you're selling it for $7. Don't tell me you're not making money. Come on.
Of course you're making money.
And then you want to be greedy and then sell it for $20? I mean, come on.
That's what they're doing.
And that's the biggest issue I have with these companies. And it's a travesty that they have to hold the public hostage.
Okay, Brian's asking, what do you think Legault will announce on Tuesday? Well, I think he's going to announce an extension to the curfew for sure.
Well, especially for Montreal anyway.
Yeah.
I would think Montreal, the greater Montreal area, I would think so, because Montreal is still high. The hospitalizations are still high.
Our curfew is going to last for another month at least.
I would think so, at least another month. I think in other parts of the province, I think will be less, depending on what the region is. But I would think Montreal is. I know that Montreal is going to stay for at least another month.
I think he's going to allow certain stores to reopen.
Yeah.
With limited customers. So,
limited customers and limited hours.
But the stores will allow to be reopened. I think restaurants are not going to allow to reopen. They're going to stay takeout. They're not going to reopen the dining halls, but they're going to keep takeout going in restaurants. And and I think they're going to allow office workers to go back to work.
Probably also with a very minimal staff.
Yeah.
And I think
if
also,
you can work from home,
depending on,
but if you have to go into the office, you could go into the office. I think that's what.
Depending on the type of work that you do, I think that if people have the choice of going into the office or staying home, I think most people are still going to stay home.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think people are still very frightened of being in contact with other people. Like, it's one thing to be in the family bubble, which you're allowed, but to be with other people that you don't know if they were outside their family bubble, I would be very, very concerned. I would be very concerned if I was in that situation. I would work from home.
But how long do you keep people at home? How long do you keep people in fear before you start integrating them back into society? So, after all this is over, after COVID is under control, after everybody's inoculated, you're still going to have this mental thing where people are going to say, "Oh my God, you're not wearing a mask," and they're going to start screaming at you for not wearing a mask because people are still going to be scared. That doesn't go away. That's been ingrained in people for over a year, so it's not going to disappear very quickly. So how do we change society? How do we change that mindset so that people will start hanging out with other people and people will start reintegrating into society? Because the mental toll this takes on people is huge.
There's going to be major adjustments that if people do wind up going to work, going back, and if they somehow feel assured in their own way, I would think it's almost like having a psychological scar. It's like having a nightmare on the back of your head saying, "Gee, if I touch this computer mouse, if I touch the computer keyboard, oh my God, if I touch the box of Kleenex that was next to me or my pen, my God, am I going to wind up getting germs?" And people wind up being like germaphobes, like they'll be scared to touch anything.
People have been trained to be germaphobes for the last year.
Yeah. I mean,
even though
I think Howie Mandel's very much at home.
Even though it's been pretty much proven that that COVID doesn't spread through touching surfaces, it's more through sneezing and spitting on each other.
Yeah,
that's I think that's been the general consensus, that your chance of catching COVID from touching something is minimal.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
people are
it's
still
going to be a
afraid
psychological fear. It's going to be a scar, definitely for a lot of people,
for a long, long
but
time.
for a very, very, very long time. I don't. It could take all. I don't know in terms of period of time, in terms of numbers, but obviously, like you said, it's not going to go away. Uh, Even if everything were to get back to normal, and I would, like you, would love to have our lives back to normal, be able to get together with family, friends, loved ones, be able to go into the office, be able to get together with friends and everything else, and not be able to wear the mask. It's going to take a very, very, very long time. And the thing is, this thing has to open up our eyes that we have to learn to be self-sufficient in our country. We have to be able to manufacture and distribute. Going back to what we were saying at the beginning of the show, we have to be able to be self-sufficient and self-supporting. And the sooner this country and other countries like it learn from this, the quicker we will be able to respond to other threats like this in the future.
And how do we do that, Sheldon? In your estimation, how do we do something like that?
Well, we have to rely that, look, we have a lot of know-how, we have a lot of education and the technology to be able to do it. But the thing is, when you're a small country, having to lean on other countries, that was the biggest mistake we ever made. And Canada's been doing this for, as long as you and I have been in this world. Canada's always been reliant on other countries, especially the United States, which is the biggest trading partner, probably the world's biggest two trading partners. And we've always been, yes, and now there's been a lot of collaboration with the auto industry and other industries that's been going back and forth. Fine, but it took a long time for actual goods being made in Canada to then be exported into the United States. But most of the time from before, long past in our history, we were always relied on the United States. We have to now, this has really opened up the door that we cannot rely on other countries for our needs. We have to rely on our own needs. The sooner we do this, the better it is. Like you said, why can Israel be able to inoculate most of its population? And Israel is what, a third of the size of this country. Why can they do it? And Canada can't do it? Canada has the technology. Israel has the technology.
What gets me is that there's a million doses a day being given out across the United States. And in a month, if we had 1,000,000 doses a day in a month, we could have our entire population.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Like again, Moderna has the manufacturing facilities in the States. We don't have that here. We have to get it here.
Or we have to get Moderna to send it from the States here.
If they will do that, and who knows if the Americans might wind up doing some kind of a barrier saying, oh no, you can't ship to any other country until the people in the United States have priorities in terms of the inoculations.
Well, that's what happened with Trump. That's what happened under Trump. Now, I'm not sure what's happening under Biden, but I'm sure he didn't change that.
We don't know because, again, Biden is also the Buy America First.
Well, he has the same policy as Trump, so I don't think anything's going to change there.
I don't think anything's going to change either. There might be certain changes, minor changes, but it won't be wide-scale major changes. I never thought that was going to happen with Biden coming in.
No.
But the thing is, again,
because Trump's policy was good for America, so why would he change it?
Well, any U.S. president's policy, they want to put America first. I mean, it's normal that a president and prime minister wants to do.
Prime Minister of Canada should have done too, but he didn't. He put China first.
Of course, that's what he should have done. Any party that runs this country has to put Canada too ahead. That's the name of the game. That's why we have to have these facilities manufactured here, and we got to do it quickly. So God forbid, if we have another thing like this again, which I hope we don't in our lifetime or in lifetimes of our children or whatever, I hope that never happens. But if we do, God forbid, we'll be able to have everything in place to be able to manufacture and distribute and the vaccine. I mean, who even knows? There was also a lot of talk, Howie, too, and you must have heard this. Who knows if there might be vaccines that we might have to be inoculated like the flu shot every year for COVID or its variants.
Right.
So we have to have distributions and manufacturing in this country for that reason alone, never mind what we need right now. So that's what we have to think about. We have to really think about, and we have to urge all our politicians to say, hey, listen, we have to now put Canada first. We can't rely on other countries.
Has ever put Canada first?
Well, it's about time some politicians have done that.
And anytime you say that, you say, I'm a nationalist, I believe we should put Canada first, they call you racist, right? Look what happens in the States. They call, you say I'm a patriot, America should go first, and there you're a racist. So there's always the other side that's going to berate you, that's going to put you down, that's going to say that anything you're trying to do is against someone else. There's always those divisions in society, people trying to divide society and continuously divide society.
Well, the thing is, even if we were to put our manufacturing distributions in this country, you don't think the Americans have already done that? I mean, the Americans already have. So the Americans are going to say, well, good. Finally, another country that doesn't have to start whining and start asking us for stuff to export to Canada.
Yeah.
So I mean, so that's why you have to do it. Yes, the United States is our biggest trading. We're the two biggest trading partners in the world. Yes, we get it. We like one another. We have similarities and we have differences. It's like, but the thing is, at the same time, the presidents are going to put America's first. Prime Minister has to put Canada first. Now, you said that prime ministers haven't put Canada first. You're 100% right. Now we have to have put Canada first.
All right. So Trudeau's not the guy to do that. So
no, Trudeau. Of course, Trudeau's not the guy, because he should have done it before.
Right.
Other prime ministers should have done it also. Not just Trudeau. Not just Hart. Anybody should like.
But I'm saying right now, put Canada first. Right now, the Prime Minister of Canada is Justin Trudeau, and he's not the man to put Canada first.
No,
he's definitely not the guy.
I know for sure.
If he's definitely not the guy, and Aaron O'Toole is definitely not the guy, then who is the guy?
That's the problem.
Or woman.
We don't have.
I'm saying guy, but I'm talking.
Yeah, who's the candidate? Who's the political candidate? We don't know. We don't have one right now.
How sad is it that you have a country of 30 million people, and there's no leadership? How crazy is that? That there's nobody that we could think of, and it's a small country, small government. You know who's famous, you know who's good, you know who's not bad, who's not good, and in all the people in government, we can't come up with one name of a person who could step forward and say, all right, that's the person that could put Canada first. That's the person that should be prime minister. That's the person that could lead us out of this mess. There's not one person in government that we could say that about. How sad is that?
And that's also going to influence a lot of people going to the polls next election, because a lot of people are not going to know. People that were staunch conservatives might think twice about voting conservative.
Well, I'm telling you, I haven't voted conservative in 5 elections. And I'm a staunch conservative. And I haven't voted conservative in 5 elections because the Conservative Party has let me down. Exactly.
And the same thing is going to go for liberal voters too. They're going to say, well, Trudeau didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
And NDP, what did the NDP do? And besides NDP, so it's either going to be liberal conservatives, because no other party is going to get into power. So these are going to be the 2 best leaders that Canada is going to come up with, that we're going to be really uxorious.
We already are. We're already in big problems.
We're uxorious now. We're going to be uxorious tomorrow, and the next years after. We don't have a decent political candidate. I don't even know who I want to vote for. I don't even know. I don't even know.
Club,
honestly,
Sheldon. Welcome to the club.
Like I honestly, and you know me, you know me.
Yeah, you're a lefty. I know you. Yeah.
But you know what? I don't even know who I'm going to vote for. Left wing, center. I don't know who I'm going to vote for, because nobody has struck me as being a really good candidate. And to safeguard our health and our well-being, it's right away they're dealing with provincial politics. It's completely soured, and I always was a staunch person that voted in every single election, from municipal, provincial, and federal. I don't know if I'm going to spoil my ballot.
It's kind of scary when you get to that point.
Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I really don't know what to do. And I think I'm.
I don't think you're the only one in the country like that, Sheldon.
Like you and I have always been staunch voters and always believed in certain parties or whatever. And you and I don't know what we're going to vote for. Nope. I don't even know who our listening audience that's listening to us right now, who the people that would vote this, and all of a sudden they're not voting.
Well, they can feel free to call in and share with us their opinions. 1-877-669-1292. It's 1-877-669-1292. Give us a call. You could weigh in on this topic if you want. 1-877-669-1292. I've had this problem for quite a few elections already, Sheldon. That I've gone into the I've gone to vote because that's my civic duty. Not everybody in the world has a right to vote, and I have the right to vote. I have the privilege of voting, so I never, ever, ever don't vote because I feel it's important to get out there and vote. So I always make sure I express my civic duty. I do my civic duty, but it's been harder and harder every election. I go to the electoral booth and I stand there and I stare at the ballot, and I'm like, I can't in good conscience vote for this person, but I can't in good conscience vote for this person either. And these people are whack jobs, so I can't vote for them. So who the heck do you vote for? Right.
So I'm wondering if a lot of these splinter parties or these smaller parties are going to get more votes for some reason.
Well, I think they haven't they?
Well, I think in the next election, when is the next election again?
It's coming up in April, no?
Okay. So the thing is, what's going to happen in the next election? Who's people,
Unless they suspend it because of COVID. That's possible too.
Yeah. But again, the same thing like you are. I'm not happy with Trudeau.
I don't think anybody in the country is happy with Trudeau.
No. The honeymoon is over. Like when he first got in, he was going on the coattails because of his late father Pierre Elliott. So he was going on the coattails. Now the honeymoon is over, and now for sure, if people didn't like him before, they can't stand him now. And I mean, I can't even stand looking at him. I can't even stand looking at O'Toole.
Look, he went from a majority government to a minority government.
Yeah.
And his government hasn't fallen, and the only reason it hasn't fallen yet, and they haven't gone to elections yet, is because of COVID.
That's the only thing that the Conservatives did, or not. I don't know about the Conservatives, but maybe the Conservatives did by not bringing the government down, because nobody wants to go for an election now.
No, now's not a good time.
Now is not a good time. And I'm also scared to find out, Howie, let me ask you this. Do you find that the voter turnout is going to be even lower than the last voter turnout?
It all depends on what's going on with COVID. It depends when the election's going to be and what's going on with COVID.
But even if COVID were to finish now, again, we're still caught between a rock and a hard place when it comes to the candidates.
If Canada goes the route of the United States and they do mail-in votes like the U.S. did, the U.S. had the highest turnout ever in the history of elections in the United States this past election. So the same thing could happen in Canada. Who knows?
I think also because in the United States too, I think there was a lot of anti-Trump. And I think a lot of people just wanted to get rid of him, regardless of what.
All right, Sheldon,
you and I.
We got a call. Sorry to cut you off. We got a call. Let's get to the call. Hello. Hello, caller.
Howie.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
Howie, it's Dino. I can't listen to this and not get involved.
All right, so you're in.
Hi, Dino. How are you?
Good, and you, Sheldon.
Good. Thank you so much for calling in. We love you, man. I'm telling you, just want to tell you before you start saying your piece, I'm telling you, if you were leading the Conservatives, no pressure here, I would vote for you because I love you, man. You're a great person. I wanted to tell you that.
You are sweet. I've always appreciated your friendship and, more importantly, your kindness, both of you. You're good men.
Dino, I have a question before you even get into your comments here. I have a question for you. Dino, this is of course Dino Mazzoni. Sorry, I got his name right. Dino Mazzoni. He is a town councillor in Montreal West. Dino, the town mascot, the Butters the Turkey, died this week.
Oh, I know.
And it's very, very sad. And I was wondering if the flag was flying at half-mast at Montreal West City Hall.
You know, I got to tell you, it was interesting. We had a meeting, I think, 4 or 5 days before the accident. Butters, right? The
Butters
wild
the turkey
that was
yeah.
making its way across Coast St. Luc in Montreal West. And it was like a fan favorite here. Everybody saw it. They liked it. You know, they were reported sightings. I even got to see it one time. I videotaped it. So it was kind of the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think 4 or 5 days before the accident, we actually discussed it. So, look, we gotta get rid of this turkey and put it somewhere like on a wild reserve. We actually put aside a commitment to defray the cost to move the turkey to Le Nichois,
Right.
somewhere off in the West Island, and we never got around to it. This turkey was kind of stuck around that whole Côte St. Luc Road and Westminster Avenue. And unfortunately, and by the way, the police were routinely called to move this turkey back off the road into, like, you know, on
I saw
the
them
sidewalk.
I saw them almost every day. Dino, almost every day I saw like a police car sitting in the middle of the road and 2 cops trying to usher this turkey to the sidewalk. I watched this happen.
It's nuts. Anyhow, it was sad, and yet I have to tell you know what? I mean, part of it is kind of, you know, you almost saw this coming, right? But
Yeah.
but a lot of the kids in the neighborhood and a lot of families were really getting attached to this turkey. And I'm telling you, the comments on social media, they were gutted. They were gutted.
Well, I guess there's the expression of why did the turkey cross the road, huh?
You're right. You're right.
So the next federal
Anyhow,
election,
it's
the next
crazy,
Canadian federal
crazy
election will take
situation.
place on or before October 16th, 2023. So, Dino, let's get back to politics because I think that's
Sure.
why you called in. You didn't like what we were saying. Now, so before October 16th, 2023, we're going to have a leader that we could elect as prime minister. I've had a problem with the last couple of leaders of the Conservative Party, but more importantly, I've had a problem with the last couple of candidates I've had to face for the Conservative Party in my riding, which is your riding, the same riding.
Yeah, Westmount and DG.
So I've looked at my candidates and I've said, I can't in good conscience vote for these people. This is terrible. And then I looked at the candidates at the riding next to our riding, and they were even worse than the ones in our riding. So I'm not sure if the Conservative Party has their act together. I'm not sure what's going on. I know you sit on the board, and I'm glad you called in because I mean, you know, I have to give somebody heck, right?
Well, look, let me, you know,
this is where I'm
let
at.
me be as honest as I can be about this, right? As frank as I can be. I'm a very critical member within the party, so I don't sit there and kind of just say, yeah, everything's great and vote for the Conservatives. I mean, the fact is that we as a party have not invested in the infrastructure in Montreal in terms of having a candidate who you saw in one election show up to the next election. So what you're constantly seeing is a revolving door of these candidates in and out, in and out, in and out, and they're creating no traction with anybody within the riding. So that to me has been a big, big mistake. Look, this is what happens within the party invariably. And I've been told, you know, for this cycle that it's going to change, but, you know, the proof is in the pudding, that what they do is they put the money and the efforts in the Quebec area region, you know, the 418 region, because that's where we get some of our MPs, and they'll put it in some other places where they think they have a real shot. But Montreal has been barren land for the Conservatives for way too long. And it's not going to change. I repeat, it will not change unless the party starts being serious about investing in candidates, not just in one cycle, but in repeated cycles. Otherwise, oublie ça. We're not going to win anything on the island.
Well, take a look. Let's take a look at the Mount Royal riding because that's probably the biggest riding for Conservatives, the biggest chance Conservatives have of winning a riding in Montreal.
Right.
You take a look at the Mount Royal riding. So you go back, 6-7 years ago, you had a guy named Sambori that nobody ever heard of, right? Then after Sambori, you had Robert Lippman.
Yeah.
And then you had you had Solly Zaidel. I interchanged those two. You had Solly Zaidel.
Don't do that. Robert's a good guy.
Yeah. I apologize to Robert. I'm a friend of Robert.
I'll paint him with the same brush.
I didn't mean to paint him in the same category. I'm sorry. You had Solly Zaidel. And Solly Zaidel hung around forever until he was convicted of corruption and then took off to Israel. Then after that, you had who was after that? Robert Lippman after
Yeah.
Sully. So then you had Robert Lippman, who carried the baggage of his mayorship in Côte St. Luc, and then the not so popular decision he made to join the megacity and stay with the megacity. And so then after Robert Lippman, you had David Torchman, who's torn between federal politics and local politics. He wants to be mayor, but
Right.
he also wants to be MP. So it's a divided loyalty. So I mean, when you look at that riding, forget about the riding I live in, but you look at that riding, which is the riding right next door to where I live in, and the biggest chance the Conservatives have of winning a riding in the city. The stability and the baggage that these people carried, either they're no names that nobody's ever heard of, or they have this huge baggage behind them that people can't in good conscience vote for these people because I mean, one of them was a disgusting person, and the other one had this baggage that people didn't like the way he handled his politics in the Equality Party or in municipal politics. So you get to the point where people are saying, people I speak to at least are saying, well, can't the Conservative Party at least put up somebody that's votable? I mean, electable?
Let me speak to what specifically to the writing, but particularly to Robert's election, because this is important, and it always gets lost when we talk about Mount Royal. He actually beat Anthony Housefather in Côte St. Luc, so he had him in Côte St. Luc. That was not an issue.
No, it was the rest of the riding. I know.
Well, where he lost was Donny-Environ in the Côte d'Ivoire part of the riding, right? So he didn't do as well, and Anthony Housefather, to his credit, did better with, for example, the Filipino community, the Portuguese community. So, but in terms of Côte St. Luc, let it be known, let it be clear, Robert Lippman beat him in that riding. And so that decision to join the megacity didn't really hurt Robert. And, I actually, believe it, I was a proponent for the demerger in Montreal West and then therefore ran as a councillor. But I supported Robert in his decision to support the megacity, not because I agreed with megacity. Megacity is a big mess and a disaster, and Plante is the worst mayor we've ever had. But
I'll mean to that.
But I supported Robert only because Robert, I think sincerely believed that was the best for the city. And, you can't really hold somebody against for a decision that they sincerely believed in. In terms of the bigger question you're asking, though,
just to continue with Robert, just for a second, he just became a columnist in the Gazette. He has a weekly column now, replacing Don McPherson. I read his column this week. It was interesting. I mean, he's an interesting guy, Robert. So his columns are interesting. But going back to that, he has a history. He had a history of voting against his own party and voting against his constituency, going way back to the Equality Party, to the Charlottetown Accords, way back then when he voted yes and everybody else was voting no, and then consistently, back into Côte St. Luc. So he voted for the megacity when his city was voting against the megacity.
Right.
So this is the kind of thing that that people tend to remember. That when we elect a politician, he's supposed to be speaking on behalf of us, not on behalf of himself, right?
Well, but you see, here's the thing. I just want you to appreciate something, and it's probably, I would say, principally the reason why I have debated and then come to the conclusion after every internal debate why I will not run for federal politics, or at least anytime soon. It's that you get stuck in the party system and you're expected to do what the leader tells you to do. And you got to sit there like a ham and just vote for stuff because you're being told to vote for stuff. So, I don't know. I have a real hard time, criticizing anyone who believes in their heart that they're making the decision that they need to make. At the end of the day, you vote that person in, you hope that person's going to make the right decisions. And really, you hope that person's going to go against the grain every so often. I mean, I got to tell you, can we just talk for a second about Anthony Housefather? I mean, look what some of the decisions he supported over the last 4 years. He should be embarrassed, and yet he did it, and he didn't even blink an eye. And so, I would have rather seen Anthony take some principled positions on things he had as core values for many years. Instead, he blinked. So I don't know.
The election that Anthony Housefather ran against Robert Lippman, I invited them both onto my show to debate. I arranged a debate with them and the third party, the NDP guy. I don't even remember his name. The NDP guy who was running at the time. Right. I invited all three of them onto the show. The NDP guy had a previous engagement; he couldn't come, and he called me and profusely apologized. I couldn't change the date; it was a mess. Lippman made the choice not to come onto the show. He made the conscious choice not to come on the show. Housefather made the conscious choice to come onto the show. I held Housefather's feet to the fire for an hour and a half because I used the time that I had for the debate. and I had Anthony on by himself, Anthony Hausvater on by himself, with an open call to Libman. Come in anytime you want. The doors are open. Feel free to come in. He refused to come. Instead, he came down to the station and did a French interview with somebody. I don't know whatever.
Right.
But he absolutely refused to be on the show with Hausvater to come to a debate, right? So I'm kind of torn between these things. I know the history. I understand the politics behind it. I understand what you're saying about being stuck in a political system and the whip forcing you to vote in certain ways. I get the whole political aspect of the whole thing. But at the same time, I also feel that when I'm elected or you're elected or anybody's elected by the people, you represent the will of the people. So if the people are clear that they want something to happen and you disagree with the people's will, it's not for you to vote against what the people want. The people elected you to speak on their behalf. You're their representative in government. So if you feel that the people are wrong, but the majority of people want that, then I think you're obligated to vote in the way the people want.
Dino, I got a question for you.
Go ahead, Sheldon. Sorry.
Okay. The biggest question is, and I'm sure there's going to be on a lot of Canadians, no matter which party that they would have normally vote for or would usually vote for. What would you say to people that right now are contemplating who to vote for in terms of the fact that they really don't find a suitable political candidate that would represent their needs or their wants, and for someone that actually would stand up for Canada?
Well, look, let me be clear. I'm going to cast my vote for the Conservative Party and for Mr. O'Toole. And let me also be candid and transparent. I supported O'Toole for leadership. Having said that, I'm also prepared to criticize Mr. O'Toole and tell him, and tell you, and tell anybody listening, that I don't think he's really, galvanized the population as of late with what's going on with COVID and the vaccine missteps. I think there is a golden opportunity politically to try to really get the government on the ropes and perhaps in doing so get some results for Canadians. I don't think he's done a really good job in that regard. I'm being honest. I mean, I think for me to sit here and lie to you guys and tell you differently would just show me to be a hypocrite. So I'm not going to do that. But I will say this. In every moment and opportunity I've had when I've met with the leader and asked him questions about, for example, China, which, by the way, is the greatest existential threat to this planet. But when I've talked to him about several things, he's always given very nuanced, smart answers. The guy thinks, he's reasoned, he's principled. Now, again, a bit more of a red Tory than I personally would like, but I think that he's a person who would definitely lead this country in a way that is a little bit more honest and transparent than the bozo we have at the helm. I have nothing positive to say about Justin Trudeau. He has absolutely no business holding this job. He's bungled every opportunity to do good for this country. And, I wish I could be even more explicit as to what I'd like to say about him, but I want to keep some decorum on your show.
Okay, Dino, we have a question that comes in from the audience. Leo asks, what did Anthony Hausvater support that was poor?
So maybe Mr. Doran didn't look at the committee hearings for the Justice Committee when they were dealing with the whole Jody, I forget her name, Jody Raybould, I think, Wilson Raybould. I mean, that was a sham. That was a sham of epic proportions. And for Anthony to have sat there as a committee chair and not have a sense of embarrassment, in Italian we call that vergogna. It's shame, And so if Mr. Doran thinks that was one of his moments, shining moments, well, God bless him, and I'm sure he'll cast his vote for Mr. Hausvater again.
I'm telling you, Dino. I don't know who I'm going. I don't know what to do coming up when the next election. I didn't know what to do
Neither do
last
I.
election either. I was really torn. I'm a blue-blooded conservative. I have been my whole life, and I've made no bones about it. Anyone who's listened to anything I've watched or read anything I've written or watched anything I've done or listened to anything I've said knows that I'm a conservative. But I just can't in good conscience vote for a party that's been doing what they've been doing. It's just been
let's just also understand what we're talking about here. Let's go back to what Sheldon was saying earlier in the show about the process of elimination. We all agree that we're not going to vote for the Bloc. Okay, I think I could say that honestly here.
I have to tell you. Years ago, they asked me to run for them. They wanted a young Jewish guy in Côte Saint Luc to run.
You're
for
right.
them.
You're right.
You're kidding.
They approached me and they want me to run for the Bloc Québécois. And
Oh man, that would not have been a good career move, Howie.
I was honestly thinking of saying yes just because I thought it would be fun, but I didn't.
If I would know better, I
No.
swear you're playing an April Fool's joke on both Dino and
No, no,
myself. Howie.
the God's honest truth. They asked me to run for them, and I said no.
Oh my God, that would have been classic. That would have been a poster to keep for the ages. By
Yeah,
the way,
for sure.
Maître chez nous, Howie Silbiger, Le Bloc. But no,
I'd sell tickets for that one.
That was right after.
So-
That was right after Preston Manning had asked me to run for the Reform Party, so it was just funny.
Well, look, I mean, so we know we're not doing the block, right?
No,
NDP,
no.
Look, there's sentiments out there, certainly in Westbound NDG where I live, which there's a sizable pocket of interest for the NDP. I just don't think Jagmeet Singh is really the guy. I think that he, again, let's look at the situation here. So you had the government on the ropes, right? They were in need of getting some support. What did they do? They threw a ton of money towards the NDP in terms of what they wanted, right, in terms of their program. The NDP, for crass political purposes, because they have absolutely no money in their till to run an election, agreed to support this government. So this is the kind of integrity you're looking at with Jagmeet Singh. So I would never vote for any of these guys. I mean, forget it. You know what? Like, I don't want to have anybody spending my money that way. I will never. They could put me in a box. I will never have casted a vote for the NDP or any of that left of center bullshit. Excuse me. But in terms of what's left, Howie, it comes down to this. Are you going to cast a vote for a member of parliament that's going to add a seat to parliament and then eventually get maybe Justin Trudeau elected again? Because that's what happens if you vote Liberal. So, again, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just saying it's really a question of, who's the least offensive to you at this point. And I just, there's no way I could see myself ever casting a ballot for anybody but Mr. O'Toole in this next election. I mean, there is no way I would ever cast a ballot for Trudeau.
No,
Do you think that there's going to be a low voter turnout, Dino, this election, this coming election that has been in past elections because people like Howie and myself are finding it very difficult to cast a ballot for the candidate of our choice?
I think, it's interesting you raised that, Sheldon. I did a show recently about this where the government is in fact being pushed by the bureaucracy to get their act together when it comes to mail-in balloting, because that was a very popular initiative, certainly in the States and also in the last British Columbia election. And so I think if you have mail-in balloting, you may see the numbers spike up. We've always had some relatively good turnout. I think this next election is crucial. It's really crucial. It's about what kind of candidate do you want? A candidate that's going to be rudderless and leaderless and put your kids and their kids into debt for God knows how many billions upon billions of dollars. That's really the question, man. And if the answer is yes, then go ahead. Trudeau's your guy. And if the answer is no, then start asking a bit more, some tougher questions as to who you should have as your candidate. It's a huge election, the next one coming around the bend, and I just hope Canadians just don't, by rote, just vote for the person they've always voted for. They got to ask some tough questions.
Do you think that the government's going to drop? The minority government's going to drop, or are they going to run out their term?
No. It'll drop. We're looking at an election anytime, I would say, late March, but more realistically, sometime in April. I could see an April election.
Even with COVID?
I can see. We're by the way, we're certainly preparing for one. We've been prepared for months as a party, and we're naming candidates, and so we're definitely looking around the bend and seeing an election very, very soon.
I hope that I could be sold on whatever candidate chooses to run in my riding, because you're not only voting for the leader, you're also voting for your representative, and I know that the representative almost is meaningless because the representatives, the number of seats make up the leadership. But I also care about who's representing me in Parliament. I want to be able. I want someone who's accessible that I could call and I could deal with if I have a problem.
Well, I think here's the thing. I think when we start attracting candidates into politics who don't need that job, who don't need to be politicians and make that salary, then you have a really good chance of having a country that works. For example, when I ran to be a city councillor, let me tell you, I didn't run for the $8,000+ a year that they give me as a city councillor. I do very well in the private sector. I don't need that money. I ran and I served because I care about my community and I want to make this a better community. So I'm not beholden to anybody. I'm not beholden to the city of Montreal. I'm not beholden to my councillors. I'm not beholden to the mayor. I'm beholden to my own principles. That's the type of person you need running at that level. When you say, well, I got to run because there's a great pension, I get it in 6 years. If I sit in a committee, I get another 50,000. When you start getting those people running for office, we are all in trouble, my friend.
Dino, I ran for politics twice in my life. And both times I lost dismally. But I ran twice. And I ran for the same reasons that you ran, because I felt that I could make a difference and I could help the city. The second election that I ran for, the second election I put my name forward, was such a dirty campaign. My opponent was so dirty in the campaign, and it was such a horrible experience. He ran my name through the mud for no reason, just because he wanted to win. And, it just kind of turned me off from politics altogether, right? And made me very skeptical of politicians in general. So I understand. I understand what you're saying.
It's not easy, by the way. Let me tell you something. Municipal politics is really, I wouldn't say dirty, but it's very difficult in the sense that certainly in Montreal West, they know where I live. So
right.
it's not like I can hide. They'll knock on my door and say, look, my garbage is not being picked up. I'm upset with the traffic. You name it, right? On social media, I constantly get linked and people ask me questions. We get grilled at town council meetings, as we should, by the way.
Yeah.
That we should be grilled. We should be asked the tough questions. And then the last election, let me tell you, the opponent I ran against, she gave me a run for my money. I won just with under 100 votes. I worked like every last door with minutes before that polling station was closed. So it's a tough game, and it's ugly sometimes. And they say a lot of things that sometimes hurt your feelings. But you got to have tough skin, and you got to have a moral core, and you got to know that your family and is core, and your friends are core, and the rest is all BS, right? I mean, whatever they say about you is all BS. So.
Dino, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, buddy. It's really nice to hear from you.
Pleasure. I'm so nice to hear you both, and you're doing a great job, and I love listening to you. I'm doing my work here for my office, and I got you guys in the background. So you're amazing.
Amazing.
Thanks, man.
And you got to come on more often, Dino. We really.
I know.
Yeah, please do. You always have an invitation here.
Thank you, Sheldon. God bless, guys. Be well.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, that's it. We're all out of time. Sheldon, thank you so much for joining me.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Take care. Really nice to have Dino on. So
I'll be back on Tuesday with Political Hitman, and maybe we'll see. Maybe an episode of the Howie Silbiger Show. We'll see. But definitely Political Hitman on Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, midnight there. The transition between Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll be back then. Until then, I bid you a very nice Monday, I guess.
Monday?
What am I supposed to say, Sheldon? I'm back on Tuesday. I bid you a very good Monday, and I will see you again on Tuesday.
Oh, my God.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.